It's the first day of summer, and it seems as though the OHL news starting to slow down for the off season. The Ontario Hockey League just celebrating the business awards the other day. There's been some pretty good social media content that the 20 teams in the Ontario Hockey League have been creating, and it's nice to see those teams behind the scenes being recognized for their efforts down at Hockley Valley. Now, we do have a trade to talk about between the Niagara IceDogs and the London Knights, two teams that have been involved in several trades over the last few years, 8 to be exact, since August of 2022. But this most recent trade, Max Crete going to the Knights for Jacob Monks and a ninth round pick in 2028. Now, this is just the playing rights of Jacob Monks, so there's no commitment as of yet with him potentially joining the Niagara IceDogs. But for the Knights, getting a pretty solid prospect from Niagara. Crete last year appeared in all 68 games, 11 goals, 8 assists, 19 points in his first season in the Ontario Hockey League. The playoffs, though, kept off the score sheet for the most part, 1 assist in 5 games. For Crete, you could tell there's a lot of potential with this player. It seems as though maybe a couple times just couldn't get the bounces to go his way. But, for the London Knights, they've done their scouting work and see him as potentially contributing as early as next season as the Knights try to defend their back-to-back OHL championships going into next season. Now, for a lot of fans questioning why the IceDogs would make this sort of trade, but in a statement from Frank Evola, the general manager of the Niagara IceDogs, he says, expect to hear some good news in the coming days following this trade. So one would assume that there should be a commitment coming from Jacob Monks, which would be pretty big as the Niagara IceDogs looking for some positive news and a change of culture with this hockey team. For Monks, he's a Michigan native, a fifth-round pick of the London Knights. He played with the U.S. National Development Team in the USHL, also appeared with the Fargo Force last season, and he's committed to playing the NCAA in 27-28 with Merrimack College. So for Monks, he's, there's been a lot of high praise for his game. 39 goals, 77 points in 61 games with Little Caesars in the under 16. And remember, Little Caesars would have been scouted quite a bit from the Windsor Spitfires, where Evola had spent the last few years. So this is, I think, maybe encouraging news that the Niagara IceDogs looking to take a chance on this U.S.-born athlete. And for Evola, using that scouting from his Windsor time, hoping to put that to good use here. So maybe in the next few days is what he's saying. We'll hear something about a signing in regards to this trade, or there's another trade coming. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, the IceDogs pretty positive about this move. I know there's some IceDog fans a little weary about this one as they see a lot of potential in Max Crete leaving this organization and benefiting the Knights potentially. Now, these two teams, they do have a history, and it seems as though every year you can now expect a trade between these two teams. And some of these trades have been a little lopsided, maybe favoring the Knights a little more than the IceDogs. But let's go over the trades. I wrote them down here. So 8 trades in total, including this latest one involving Max Crete. The last trade, though, you have to go back to November 2024. That's when the Niagara IceDogs acquired Blake Aerosmith for a third, and a sixth. So draft picks going to the Knights. And for Aerosmith, he was a regular in the lineup after being acquired from the London Knights. So that trade has kind of helped the Niagara IceDogs a bit there. Then you have to go back to November 2023. That's when they acquired Brody Crane from the London Knights for Chris O'Flaherty, 2 third-round picks, and a fourth. Now, this trade didn't look too good for the IceDogs because, remember, they traded Crane at that following trade deadline to the Guelph Storm and didn't get as much back as what they gave up for Crane to the London Knights, although O'Flaherty didn't last long with London either. Then before that, in September 2023, the IceDogs, they acquired Ryan Humphrey and Matthew Paris. Paris, of course, he's been a key contributor these last few seasons, especially last year's run. And then in return, the IceDogs gave up Juan Copeland, a second and a third. So maybe giving up that second is looked at as maybe overpay. But when you look at what Paris has brought to this team over the last few years, you got to say he's a significant player and a significant piece, even going into next season. Before that, in September 2023, Connor Federkow and Mike Levin were traded to Niagara from London for a third and a fifth. Fedorkow obviously was traded a little bit later, but Mike Levin, a piece that's been a regular. So it's not like just a depth player. Mike Levin's been contributing. So some of these trades looking okay for the Niagara IceDogs. October 2022, that's when Gerard Keane and a 12th were traded to the Niagara IceDogs for Alec Leonard, a second and a third. And we've seen what Alec Leonard was able to do in his time. Eventually, the Knights flipped him to the Owen Sound Attack, where he finished his overage season just this past year. Leonard, a key piece. So did Niagara overpay a little bit on that trade, going for Gerard Keane? Then in September 2022, this is when Owen Flores was traded from the London Knights to the Niagara IceDogs for a second and a fifth. You got to feel that that was a good trade for the IceDogs, considering what Flores was able to do last year. Maybe a key factor in why Niagara was so competitive early on in the 2024-25 season. Flores kept them in it, and when he was injured, there was a hole in that lineup, and it was very evident, especially during the month of February. So a decent trade there. But the one that really stands out, I think, for Niagara IceDog fans is August of 2022. That's when they traded Sam Dickinson to the London Knights. Now, for Niagara in that trade, they did acquire 3 second-round picks, 2/3, and a fifth. But we all know what Sam Dickinson has brought to that London Knights team since that trade. And of course, Dickinson was the first-round pick of the Niagara IceDogs, but failed to report. So Niagara ended up trading him, and he went to the London Knights. They did also get an extra first-round pick the following season. But still, I think that's a trade where a lot of IceDog fans look at, what could have been if they could have convinced Sam Dickinson to join that team. Although you have to figure with a lot of stuff that was going on at the time were probably factors, but still a lot of history when it comes to trades between the Niagara IceDogs and the London Knights. And this one involving Max Crete, the latest between these two teams. And we'll have to wait and see if Jacob Moon will, or Jacob Monks rather, will sign a commitment to play at the Niagara IceDogs following this trade. Now, some other news to come about. It's being reported that the Office of the Sport Integrity Commissioner, which is federally funded, they do investigations into sports. They've been ongoing since 2022. They're calling for a ban on fighting at the Ontario Hockey League and Western Hockey League level. Now, the Quebec Maritime Junior Hockey League, remember, they already put a ban on fighting. So if you get into a fight, you're automatically ejected. And if you're the instigator, you're given a 1-game suspension. And that was pushed by the Quebec government. They wanted to see a ban in fighting for that level of hockey. But now we have the OSIC putting out a report saying that they would like to see a ban also in effect for the OHL and the WHL. I know this is a sensitive topic, especially for hockey fans who feel fighting is a part of the game. But we also have to remember, too, that head injuries are a serious problem and whatnot. So you kind of have to look at it in both lights, from the factor that these are young athletes who are learning the game and have to be prepared for the professional ranks where, of course, fighting is allowed. So if they're not allowed to practice the craft at the junior hockey level, that kind of leaves them vulnerable when they do go on to the pro ranks. But then on the other side, you want to protect the players, especially when it comes to head injuries. So a very interesting position here. And of course, with Hockey Canada receiving federal funding, could this put pressure on them to then have to, encourage the junior leagues to put a ban on fighting? I think this is an interesting spot. Personally, I've been kind of wondering when we were going to see more pressure put on junior hockey when it comes to fighting. And maybe this is that next step coming from the Office of the Sports Integrity Commissioner. They published the report back in May, but now it's starting to come to light, and we'll have to wait and see where it goes from here. So that's how I see it from the booth. Let me know in the comments section below your thoughts on fighting. Do you think there should be a ban? Or even if you have comments about the trade between the Niagara IceDogs and the London Knights. Love seeing the interaction. Thank you very much for your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we will talk to you again soon.